New Super Mario Bros. 2 is often said to be the worst in the New Super Mario Bros. Series for a very stupid reason of, oh, it's unoriginal, because that truly matters in a game. But when actually playing NSMB2 like a video game and not judging it on irrelevant arbitrary factors, then this game is really damn great. Starting with the level design, which is great as the platforming is tough by Mario standards before anyone says anything, featuring the regular platforming stages that are, well, fun in the Mario, shocker. But the levels that I would say are about half the levels in this game that have a little gimmick that adds to the parkour, like webs in 3-3, that lasts for a short time, and have you parkour with them, and having to land on the spiders to do platform. And I'm just gonna run through a few levels. 5-Castle with the flip gates, that you have to try dodging enemies via flipping the gates to get through the level. 4-B, this stage, whilst being mostly a platforming level, has the little fucking pieces of shit known as amps, but this level is mostly about avoiding these twats, which given their paths gets harder if you're impatient like me. 2-A, which while yeah is a platforming level, is mostly about being fast enough to jump onto the next platform whilst avoiding enemies like the fuzzies, and like I'll mention later, the star coins are very well placed in here like most of the game. Flower-A, which is a very solid semi-auto scroller, as you ride on the ice platform along the level and avoid the enemies of the stage that mostly jump your ass. 5-3, this stage is like a maze. We have to try to figure out which way to go through the level if you want to get the star coins, which are very nicely placed, which again I'll go through later. 6-B has a very cool gimmick of these platforms that go up and down whenever you jump on them, which leads to interesting gameplay loop of making sure that you can get to the end whilst avoiding the bullet bills and flame chomps on these small platforms. 6-Ghost House, first off, shout out to the handheld NSMB games for having the two best ghost houses in the series. But yeah, this ghost house is very nice as it's maze-like, trying to figure out the path as each door changes the layout of the ghost house, so finding the right one is rather difficult. 5-A, this level isn't hard per se, but racking up a ludicrous amount of coins in this stage is really fun, especially trying to optimize it. And this is only a few of the gimmicky levels, as there are others, but overall this game had really good ghost houses and castles. On average, probably the best quality of ghost houses, like 4-Ghost House, which has you being trapped by the boos and having to move fast enough to dodge getting crushed, and at the end, and overall having to deal with the walls widening and shrinking. Flower-Castle, having a bit of enemy spam, but that's the challenge here, having to dodge the falling enemies, as it is a mindful enemy spam here that feels fair as it is mostly from vibes that create the obstacle. Mushroom Castle, which has you running away from a big spiky ball that is trying to kill you, and it moves fast enough that unless you're constantly running, it will be an imitating presence the whole ass time. 2-Castle, which has a platform that only moves when you stand on it, leaving you having to dodge the lava bubbles whilst making sure that the platform doesn't move fast enough if you want to get the star coins. But enough about the gimmick levels, as there are some good levels that are just platforming levels, like 2-2, 6-4, and Flower-2, that are just fun levels to be in and explore, and I go into detail, but this part is getting long, so I mostly be repeating myself. Like 6-4 has the cool thing with the people platforms that only appear when you get close or land on them, which leads to a pretty fun loop of having to land on them to get the path to start. 2-2 just has a pretty fun layout to go about the entire level, as it's a bit of a wonky maze style stage that has a bunch of enemies. And Flower-2, I mean, is the one where you have to jump on the spiders, which is a pretty fun platforming gimmick, especially for a mainline Mario game, because this is mostly stuff you see in Mario Maker, to be honest. So now, let's get on to the star coins, which are very nicely hidden or incorporated into the level design, especially in the levels that I mentioned, like 2-Castle, where you have to be mindful of the platform to get the star coins, and mind the spring to get the star coin if you lose your Tanuki suit. 5-3 will have you to find which way of the many paths has the star coin, which in a maze-like stage is rather trial and error, but in my opinion this level managed to make it fun with the amount of enemies and the way to actually access these places being via cannons and it not taking too long. 5-Castle has you doing the risky maneuvers to get the star coins because of the great so, which means that you have to pull off some pretty strict timings in order to get the star coins. 2-A has you taking different paths that you can miss on accident, or having to get a Koopa Troopa, with a nice jump or use a Tanuki Leaf. Mushroom Rain has you doing things in tight timings to get the star coins, or else you get smacked by the ball or miraculously pinned. And same goes for the rest of the star coins, which either A, follow a pretty nice theming with the stages gimmick, like in 6-B, where it probably would take you multiple attempts to actually find them, or 6-A, which centers about the dry bones platform thingamajiggy that has you trying to maintain stuff on the platform, like the first star coin where you have to use a spring, or the last one where you have to throw bombs just in time so you can actually get a star and not die. And then the star coins just in like the other stages are also just pretty decently hidden, which are fun to find or have you explore the level. Like 2-4, the pyramid level, which has you exploring around the pyramid to find the star coin. Especially the middle one. That one is really tricky, but pretty satisfying once you actually discover how to get it. So I won't spoil it here. Now, onto the openness of this game, which, yeah, while not great, would probably like the second most open game behind Wonder, but 2D Mario games, these games are known for their openness. But anyways, as for one, split paths. Like in NSMBDS, where you have split paths in the world, like in World 1 you can go to World 2 or World Mushroom, and in World 3 where you can go to World 4 or World Flower. But this game also just has so many alternate paths. Like looking at the maps of each world has like 3 different paths that culminate into just the final castle level, and for that, the game deserves a mention. And especially this goes for the worlds after like World 2 or World Mushroom. Now, onto about the only real problem with this game. As whilst this game may have very high quality levels, the bosses are severely lacking. Like for one, the mid-castle boss fights aren't hard, they're just restored in a slightly different configuration that isn't hard at all, and it wasn't like in NSMBDS where, yeah, they're all Bowser Jr., but at least they sometimes got harder. So if they were harder like in NSMBDS, I wouldn't have a problem with them all being Reznor. The problem is they're just all easy. None of them are hard. They all play the same because they all take like, I don't know, 10 seconds to do. And the Koopalings are much better, with the fights being probably the poorest quality of the NSMB series, with their attacks being slow, with them mostly not doing anything to friend the player, like Roy, Lemmy, Larry, etc. But this game does have a very good boss fight in the name of Final Bowser. A pretty tough fight that follows the NSMB Wii philosophy of running away from Bowser instead of fighting him directly. And it works very well, and can be pretty difficult, especially without the Tanuki Leaf, as jumping from platform to platform, trying to stall and give yourself places to reach is thrilling. So this boss fight here gets an S tier, whilst the rest altogether probably get a D-. But yeah, fantastic final boss, below average every other boss fight in this game. And now, onto some things that aren't big enough for their own segments. Like, the game controls smoothly, and it doesn't have any annoying NSMBDS gimmicks, like wall jumps being slow or edge landing. The music is nice, and the themes are good. But to summarize, NSMB2's greatest strength is the core platforming, with the stages having, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10 platforming experience, as the levels were designed well, with some levels having fun gimmicks to break up the usual parkour-based levels, with the only sour spot being the bosses, which failed to challenge the player in any meaningful way besides the final Bowser, which is why I give this game the same rating as I give every other NSMB game, a 9 out of 10, for having very high quality levels. Also bonus packs in case anyone cares for them. I don't think anyone cares for them, but they're harder platforming challenges for the real gamers. But anyway, that's the end of this review. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe, and if not, tell me why in the comments, and I'll see y'all later.